The Vanguard hung in the stillness of space, its crew preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Captain Marik stood at the center of the bridge, staring intently at the view screen. The massive, unidentified object was closing in on the system, its size dwarfing even the Raith and Vexari fleets combined. "Lenka, how long until it arrives?" Marik asked, her voice calm but laced with tension. 10 minutes, Captain," Lenka replied. "At its current speed, it'll reach the planet's orbit before the fleets can reposition themselves fully." Marik's eyes flickered toward Voss, who stood at the tactical station, monitoring the activity of the Raith and Vexari ships. "Are they coordinating as we instructed?" Voss shook his head. "Barely. Both sides are still suspicious of each other. They've agreed to form a defensive line, but it's clear they're more focused on protecting their own interests than working together." "Of course," Marik muttered, her mind racing. Time was running out, and the fragile peace between the two factions was a ticking time bomb. If they couldn't get them to cooperate fully, whatever was approaching the system would tear them apart. "We need to make this work," Marik said, her voice firm. "Voss, open a channel to both fleets. I need to speak to their leaders one more time." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the faces of Commander Trellon of the Raith and Overseer Xylok of the Vexari. Both leaders looked tense, their expressions betraying their growing fear of the unknown threat. "Captain Marik," Trellon said, his voice edged with frustration. "The Raith fleet is ready, but the Vexari are delaying our positioning. If we are not in place when the object arrives—" "We are not delaying," Xylok snapped, her mandibles twitching in agitation. "Your ships are out of formation, Commander. We will not be left vulnerable." Marik cut them both off, her voice sharp. "Enough. You both need to understand what's at stake here. This isn't about your territorial dispute anymore. Whatever's coming, it's bigger than both of you. If we don't work together, none of us are going to survive." Trellon's eyes narrowed. "And what guarantee do we have that the Vexari won't use this as an opportunity to seize control of the planet once the threat is dealt with?" Xylok sneered. "The same guarantee we have that the Wraith won't try to claim the AI for themselves." Marik clenched her fists. "There are no guarantees right now. But I promise you this. If you don't cooperate, you won't have a planet left to fight over. This is your only chance to prove that you're both capable of putting the future of your people above your hatred for each other." The silence that followed was tense, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Finally, Trellon spoke, his voice begrudging. "Very well, Captain. The Wraith fleet will hold the line." Xylok gave a curt nod. "As will the Vexari." The transmission ended, and Marik let out a slow breath. "That's the best we're going to get." Voss stepped forward, his expression hard. "Do you think they'll hold?" "They don't have a choice," Marik said. "If they want to survive, they'll have to." Lenka's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. "Captain, the object is entering the system. It'll reach the planet in 5 minutes." Marik's heart raced as she turned back to the view screen. The massive object was now fully visible, an immense, dark structure, angular and foreboding. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before, and its sheer size was enough to send a wave of unease through the entire crew. "Orlis," Marik said, turning to her science officer, "do we have any idea what we're dealing with?" Orlis's eyes were glued to her console, her fingers moving rapidly as she scanned the object. "It's not a ship, Captain, at least not in any traditional sense. It's more like a platform or a station. And there's something else. It's emitting the same energy signature as the AI we disabled on, the planet." Marik's stomach dropped. "You're saying it's connected to the AI?" Orlis nodded. "It's possible that the AI on the planet was part of a larger network, and this object is one of the central hubs. If that's the case, it's not just responding to the signal, it's here to reclaim control." A cold chill ran down Marik's spine. They had thought disabling the AI had solved the problem, but now it seemed like it had only been the beginning. Whatever was inside that structure, it had the power to undo everything they had fought for. "Prepare for engagement," Marik ordered, her voice steady. "Voss, get our weapons ready, and make sure the Raith and Vexari fleets are in position." Voss nodded, his hands moving swiftly over the tactical console. "Weapons are hot, Captain. We'll be ready when it reaches us." The bridge fell into a tense silence as the object drew closer, its dark surface looming large on the view screen. The Raith and Vexari fleets had formed a loose defensive perimeter around the planet, but there was no telling if it would be enough to stop whatever was coming. "Captain," Lenka said, her voice quiet, "it's slowing down." Marik's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Lenka tapped a few commands, pulling up a new display. "The object is decelerating as it approaches the planet. It's almost as if it's preparing to—" Before she could finish, a deep, rumbling sound reverberated through the Vanguard. The lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air, as if the ship itself was reacting to the object's presence. "Captain!" Orlis shouted, her voice filled with panic. "We're being scanned." Marik's eyes widened. "What?" Orlis's fingers flew over her console. "The object, it's scanning us. The entire system is being swept with some kind of advanced sensor array. I don't know what it's looking for, but it's—" Suddenly, the rumbling grew louder, and the view screen flickered as the object emitted a massive wave of energy. The wave rippled through space, passing over the Vanguard and the Raith and Vexari fleets. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze, the stars themselves dimmed, and the hum of the ship's engines fell silent. And then, as quickly as it had come, the wave was gone. "What was that?" Voss asked, his voice filled with shock. "I don't know," Orlis replied, her voice trembling. "But whatever it wasn't an attack. It was an activation sequence. The object is powering up." Marik's pulse quickened. "Lenka, are the fleets responding?" Lenka checked her console, her face pale. "The Raith and Vexari ships are still in position, but they're reporting power fluctuations. Whatever that wave was, it's affected their systems." "Captain," Orlis said, her voice urgent, "there's something happening on the surface of the planet. The AI core. It's reactivating." Marik felt her heart sink. "How is that possible? We shut it down." "I don't know how," Orlis said, her eyes wide with fear. "But the object in orbit, it's reawakening the AI. If we don't stop it, the entire system will be under its control." Marik clenched her fists. They were out of time. The object wasn't just a threat to the planet. It was a threat to the entire sector. And if they didn't act now, everything they had worked for would be lost. "Voss," Marik said, her voice filled with resolve, "prepare to fire." "Captain?" Voss asked, surprised. "We're not waiting for this thing to finish whatever it's doing," Marik said firmly. "We take it out now, before it can fully activate." Voss nodded, his hands moving swiftly over the tactical console, weapons locked on target. "All ships," Marik said, opening a channel to the Raith and Vexari fleets. "This is Captain Marik. Prepare to engage the object. We have to stop it before it takes control of the planet." Trellon's voice came through the comm, filled with determination. "The Raith are ready, Captain. We will destroy it." Xylok's voice followed. "The Vexari stand with you. We will not allow this object to claim the planet." Marik took a deep breath. "All ships, fire." The view screen lit up with the combined firepower of the Vanguard, the Raith fleet, and the Vexari warships. Energy beams and torpedoes streaked through space, slamming into the surface of the object with blinding intensity. For a moment, it seemed like the barrage was having an effect. The object's dark surface cracked, and flashes of energy rippled across its structure. But then, with a deafening roar, the object emitted another wave of energy, this time far stronger than the first. The wave tore through the system, knocking out power to the Raith and Vexari ships and sending the Vanguard reeling. "Shields are failing!" Voss shouted. Marik gripped the armrest of her chair as the ship shuddered violently. "Hold steady. We can't let this thing activate." The object continued to glow, its core pulsing with energy as it prepared to unleash its full power. "Captain!" Orlis shouted. "The AI on the planet, it's almost fully reactivated. If we don't stop it—" Marik's eyes narrowed. "Target the core. We have to take it out now." Voss hesitated for only a second before locking onto the glowing core of the object. "Target locked. Fire," Marik ordered, her voice filled with determination. The Vanguard unleashed a final, devastating volley of torpedoes, each one aimed directly at the heart of the object. The torpedoes slammed into the core, and for a brief moment, everything seemed to freeze. The object's glow intensified, its structure vibrating with raw energy, and then, with a blinding flash of light, the object exploded. The force of the explosion rocked the entire system, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The Vanguard was thrown backward, its systems flickering as the blast passed over it. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly, the lights on the bridge began to stabilize. The hum of the engines returned, and the view screen cleared, revealing the empty expanse of space where the object had been. "It's gone," Lenka said softly, her voice filled with relief. Marik exhaled, sinking into her chair. "What about the planet?" Orlis checked her console, her eyes wide with shock. "The AI core on the planet has gone dark. Whatever connection it had to the object, it's been severed." Voss leaned back in his seat, his face pale but relieved. "We did it." Marik nodded, her heart still racing. They had stopped the object, and the AI was no longer a threat, but as the reality of their victory began to sink in, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. "We'll need to debrief the Raith and Vexari," Marik said, her voice quiet, "and make sure the peace holds." Voss nodded. "But for now, Captain, we won." Marik allowed herself a small smile. "Yes, for now." As the Vanguard drifted through the quiet expanse of space, Marik knew that they had faced one of the greatest challenges of their mission. But the galaxy was vast, and there were still countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And she would be ready for whatever came next.